As it's been around for a few years, and with an update, you've probably heard of the internet documentary Zeitgeist. And because of its provocative nature, you get two significant camps: die-hard fans of some, if not all of it, and those that see the entire project as diluted propaganda. Part 1 of Zeitgeist focuses on the claims that Christianity, and perhaps all religions, is based on the movements of the stars and planets, especially the sun, and thus the story of Jesus is complete myth, Jesus himself the personification of the sun. The other two parts focus on 9/11 and federal monetary policy. And while the first part has been convincing to many folks, especially those that are anti-religious, it has been attacked by those on both sides of theology. Here I'll focus on just one of those claims in Zeitgeist, and we can begin to see what has gotten many to think there is something not quite right in its presentation. But before doing that, we need to know the sources for the claims in part 1 of this film. The primary scholar that outlines the claims of Zeitgeist is D.M. Murdock, better known by her pen name Acharya S. She has a degree from an accredited college in classics and has done research in Greece, so she is not unschooled. However, she does not seem to have a higher degree, and none of her books have been published in peer-review academic presses, but instead self-published. That doesn't mean she is wrong, just that the material has not been certified fresh beforehand by those who know the material. Acharya also follows in the footsteps of an idea first proposed centuries ago by the French scholar Charles-François Dupuy, explaining all religious myths as ultimately based on the movement of the stars, an idea encapsulated in the term Astrotheology. Like with astrology, these stars had meaning, and the ancients termed the dance of the stars into their myths. The hypothesis has not gained wide attraction, and the monomyth it suggests is also widely unpopular among scholars. Nonetheless, let's focus on an interesting point of the thesis, and one that is perhaps the best story that connects Jesus to the heavens. The Star of Bethlehem is told by the Gospel of Matthew. Here's how the Gospel tells the story of the star.
Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. And lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was.
And how is this story explained by Acharya? Here is how it is presented.
Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, and upon his birth he was adored by 3 kings. First of all, the birth sequence is completely astrological. The star in the east is Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, which, on December 24th, aligns with the 3 brightest stars in Orion's belt. These 3 bright stars in Orion's belt are called today what they were called in ancient times, the 3 kings. And the 3 kings and the brightest star, Sirius, all point to the place of the sunrise on December 25th. This is why the 3 kings follow the star in the east, in order to locate the sunrise, the birth of the sun.
The claims presented here are in 2 forms, astronomical and historical, and best taken in this order. So first, do the stars of Orion's belt point through Sirius to the sun at dawn of the winter solstice? This is easy to check with any modern planetarium software, and the answer is a clear no. The stars of Orion's belt set hours before sunrise, so they are not pointing at anything, let alone the sun. Quite different than how it is depicted in Zeitgeist with Orion right overhead. Moreover, there is nothing special about the date of December 25th here. Orion's belt would have in fact pointed at the sun as the film showed in August, nowhere near the solstices or equinoxes of the sun. One possible wrinkle to consider is that the sun moves in the sky up and down through the year, so perhaps there is a magic alignment of some other date? And when does this happen? The best match seems to happen in September or October, again, nowhere near December 25th. So already, the astronomy is wrong, and the other facts are not much better. In no work provided by Zeitgeist or Acharya is a primary source given to prove that Horus was born on December 25th, or that the stars of the belt of Orion are called the 3 kings. None. Only Acharya's speculation holds the story together. And besides all that, it's a big red herring. Why? Because the idea that Jesus was born on December 25th with 3 kings is a retelling of the story centuries after the Gospel of Matthew had been written. There were centuries of speculation on when Jesus was born, and dates from March to November were proposed. It wasn't until the 3rd or 4th century that Jesus was said to have been born then, and even so it was also considered by some Christians then and now to have been on January 6. As for the kings, the Magi in the Gospel are never numbered, nor are they called kings. Others speculated that there were 2, 4, 8, or 12 Magi, and the identification of them as kings only comes in later centuries still, and not clearly until the 6th century. If the idea of Orion and the sun were supposed to explain the story of Christmas, they are not explaining the original version, and thus they are not explaining the Star of Bethlehem as presented in the Gospel. The entire connection is false and manufactured, wrong at every level. And if that wasn't enough, the version of the star presented in Zeitgeist doesn't explain the major details of the star which rises in the east, goes before the Magi, and stands over where the child was. So not only does the film poorly try to explain a later version of the Christmas story, it doesn't even come close to explaining the original one. So, with this test case, let's leave with 3 questions. First, if this part of Zeitgeist is clearly wrong, what does that say about how good the rest of it is? Second, when was Jesus actually born? And third, what was the Star of Bethlehem?